Hello and welcome. My name is Dianne and I am one of the CFA tutors at Quartic. And I'm going to give you 3 very simple steps to passing the CFA Level I exam. So step 1, know the curriculum. Now the curriculum is that body of knowledge that is tested in the exam, and when you sign up for the exam you will receive a copy of that curriculum, either a digital version or a print version. When you open it you will notice that there are 10 topic areas. What you will also find is the topic areas have got different weightings. And strategically to pass the exam, what you ought to be doing is focusing on the big ticket areas, those topics which are heavily weighted. For example, ethics, financial reporting, equity and fixed income. Also, quantitative techniques is quite important. The first half of quants, quite a lot of what you learn there is actually useful in other topics. Now, in addition to those, you will also have to look at other smaller areas, such as portfolio management, alternatives and derivatives. However, because they have a lower weighting, do not spend a disproportionate amount of time on those areas. Now, I'm not saying neglect them. I'm saying if you want to pass this exam, you've got to focus most of your attention on the bigger areas. Knowing the curriculum also involves looking at the learning outcome statements. Those LOSs that people talk about, don't ignore them, because those give you a very, very good indication as to how a topic is going to be tested. Those usually start off with the word explain, describe, compare, or calculate. And so let's say you're looking at something in quants. You're presented with a very complex formula. And when you look at the learning outcome statement, it says describe. Well, what that means is the examiner is not going to give you a computation, and it's very likely you will not need to learn that formula. So step 1, know the curriculum. Step 2, develop your exam technique. Now, having knowledge and passing the exam are actually 2 different things. You might be familiar with all the topic areas, but what you must be able to do is apply that knowledge to exam questions. You must be familiar with the format of the exam and the style of exam questions. At level 1, your exam will be comprised of multiple choice questions with 3 options, A, B, and C. Choose one. There's no negative marking, so if you don't know, then guess. Don't leave any spaces blank at all. You will have a morning paper and an afternoon paper, 3 hours for each paper. Each paper will be 120 questions that you must attempt. So that means on average you should take 90 seconds for each question. But some questions will take longer and some questions you will be able to answer in a shorter space of time. What you must do prior to the exam is practice as many questions as you can. Your first main source of questions is the CFA curriculum. It is essential that you look at the questions at the back of each reading. Why? Because the CFA Institute have written those. They're from the horse's mouth. They are the closest thing that you will get to the real exam. At Quartic, we've got lots of questions for you to practice as well, and it is very important that you keep practicing. Start at the beginning. Once you start a reading, do questions. Don't save the questions until the end. As you go through, practice. When you think you've done enough, practice some more. By doing those questions, you will be able to identify the ones that will take you a longer time. You'll be able to identify your weaknesses, correct those weaknesses. So step 2 involves making sure that you develop your exam technique. And finally, step 3. Step 3, learn to use your financial calculator. Now, you're allowed to take a financial calculator into the exam, either a Hewlett-Packard or a Texas Instruments. Whichever one you choose, whatever version of those calculators that you choose, make sure that you can actually use the functions on the calculator. As a bare minimum, please make sure that you learn how to use the time value of money function. Please ensure that you can use the cash flow worksheet. Also ensure that you can use the data and stat functions to work out things like standard deviations. And finally, be able to use your interest conversion function to change an effective rate into a nominal rate and vice versa. What you don't want is to end up in the exam not knowing how to input data into the calculator. Practice. As you do questions, use the calculator. Practice, practice, practice. And when it comes to that calculator, if you know how to use it very well, that would save you from having to learn lots and lots of different formulas in the exam. So my 3 steps are: step 1, know the curriculum. Step 2, develop your exam technique. And step 3, learn to use your calculator. So thank you very much for listening. If you require any further information on courses that we offer at Quartic, things like a calculator tutorial or even CFA courses, please visit our website at www.quartic.co. If you would like to send us an email to find out anything, please feel free to do so. The email address is info@quartic.co. Thank you again, and best of luck with the studies.